Thanks to the grace of heaven, virtuous masters, thanks to the mercy and compassion of the grand predecessor and predecessor, transmitting masters, and everyone here for giving me the opportunity to share tonight's topic, the virtuous deeds of Pure Water Elder. Pure Water Elder is also known as our grand predecessor. Grand predecessor started his career with a weaving and dyeing factory called Da Delong. The business became more and more prosperous under his diligent management. However, for his constant overwork, he was ill with incurable stage 3 tuberculosis at the age of 37. He received Tao and was greatly blessed with the mercy of Jigong Buddha. Under the training with the 18th patriarch and 18th matriarch, he received the transmitter mandate in 1941. He faced many trials and hardships while propagating Tao. But his true heart was not disturbed, yet was determined to propagate Tao wholeheartedly. Since 1960s, he initiated the Tao affairs worldwide, such as Japan, Southeast Asia, and US. Some said about 39 countries. Besides, he was the founder of the nursery school, the senior center, and prepared to build the Tianyuan Buddhist temple in Taiwan at the time. Like Transmitter Lin mentioned, under the leadership of grand predecessor, there are about 11 units at the time, and we are the Fa Yi Tong Yi. At age 94, many places from different countries still wanted his visit and blessings. But he said, even I wanted to go, but my body just would not cooperate. At age 95, he left the secular world. It was 1995. In 2005, he was once channeled in at Taiwan Temple and given a holy name, 白水圣地, or true sage of pure water. He was a layman like everyone else, but grand predecessors' Tao propagating never stops. It is like what Zhuangzi said, a piece of firewood burns out instantly. But if we pass on the fire to another, it will never be extinguished. This is a book written by a talent who lived with Pure Water Elder at Busan. Here are a few interesting perspectives and virtuous deeds of his daily living, such as his living attitudes, teachings in dealing situations, and Tao ceremony. Living attitudes. Grand predecessor wanted to read all scriptures from all branches. He cared about how other divisions are doing. Often, he bounded and organized all scriptures from Buddhas and saints. While at Busan, he kept the old-fashioned cooking stone in the kitchen. It looks like this. on the screen. He said, gas stoves are like slow gas poisoning. He made wood chopping for the fire as part of the physical training. He proposed simple cooking, 3 dishes and 1 soup, 4 dishes for visitors. His breakfast at 7 a.m., lunch at 12 p.m., dinner at 6 p.m. One time, a type of yam soup did not turn out right, but he drank it anyway and called it the pot wash water. His cooking was known to be unique since he used all leftover food in the refrigerator. One time, the author sat down and started eating on her own. Grand predecessor said, there are still people in the kitchen cleaning up. You are not helping eating by yourself already. Other time, after he finished his meal, he would watch others eat. He ate little and finished his meal in 5 minutes. Everyone became nervous, and some of their hands holding the chopsticks became crippled when he was watching them eat. Yeah, sounds a bit uncomfortable if we are being watched while eating, right? Another time, someone wanted to pick up stir-fry clear rice noodles, but they were very sticky and long. The person had to stand up and try to only pick the portion that she wanted. Grand predecessor saw and said to everyone at the table, you guys are not helping her. Where is your benevolence? By observing at these common small gestures, can even help each other. Forget about other things when more serious things happen. Everyone felt so embarrassed. So next time, when similar situation happened, there were 7 or 8 pairs of chopsticks helping one person. Then everyone started laughing. Grand predecessor took every opportunity to help to teach at any given chance in the daily living. Every young adult who stayed with him must have learned how to pick up small peas like this on screen using their chopsticks. He wanted to make sure they know how to hold their bowls and chopsticks properly. Grand predecessor did not propose getting food to others. He said, what happens if you pick up something that someone prefers not to eat? Part of his morning routines was to clean inside of the house at Fusan. Afternoon was to work outside the field. He said, want to learn how not to dwell on impermanence? Quiet time or doing nothing time doesn't mean that you are not dwelling on thoughts. One day, the author was asked to make walkways. Busan is a rocky mountain located at Puli, Nantou County in Taiwan. It is close to Taichung City, but more of the Middle East of the Taiwan, geographically speaking. Grand predecessor wanted her and others to move some rocks to make walkways. Since she is a female and automatically thought it would be better for the male Dao kings to move rocks. Grand predecessor asked, male Dao king is a human? Aren't you human too? Since we are all human, he is able to move the rocks. Why can't you? Go on to gain strength and must train to use the strength. After all kinds of physical labors, she rarely had any dreams at night. She noticed that a night became a minute long. In other words, she was just in bed, but it was time to get up. Sometimes she couldn't even make it back to her own bed and would just fall asleep somewhere else. One night, she wanted to go to the bathroom, but didn't know why she was unable to. Even she went past by all bathroom doors. So she went back to her room. Later, she saw her body laying on the bed, then realized it might be her spirit that went to the bathroom, or it might be only a dream. She was too exhausted to worry about anything or what it was. The stone moving reminded me of Milarepa. Milarepa killed about 35 people from his village where he grew up by using dark magic, including his uncle, aunt, due to a revenge that they plotted his family and took away his inheritance. It was his regret for these deeds that led to his path to the Buddhahood. Marpa, his master, put him through various extraordinary trials of tolerance, pain, and endurance. By building houses by hands, stone by stone, which he then had to tear down again by hand per Marpa's request, and then build it again. The back and forth of building and tearing lasted about 12 years. It was Marpa's wife asked Marpa to finally tell him the truth. So various events in Milarepa's life became teaching experiences for him and led to profound understanding of impermanence. He had no doubts when Marpa finally told him the truth. Here is the list we will talk about. Pure Water Elders' teachings. Wrote calligraphy and read Book of Change. Take on hardships. Find one sutra. The Heart Sutra. Occasional quiz. Being given orders for 20 years. Too bright to fall asleep. Grand predecessor put lots of efforts on reading sutras and scriptures. When time permitted, he also wrote calligraphy. One time, he wanted to find someone to teach the Book of Change. At the time, one lecturer came to teach, but grand predecessor really wanted him to talk about the true meaning, not the feng shui stuff. Later, someone asked him why he didn't teach it himself. He said that he did not understand. Then the author asked, "Why not? You lectured us all the time." He showed his fingers to the number 6. And said to the author, "I read 6 different versions of it. Still didn't understand it." They were not sure if he has been modest or each publication of the Book of Change was really so different and not explained its true meaning. Well, I remembered hearing from Lecturer Liu, who said that almost all the publications talked about the changes, and they don't want to talk about the one that does not change. No one knew that we need to learn the one that is unchanged. Also, when people who had the knowledge from the Book of Change usually became very proud and refused to learn the one that is unchanged, said Lecturer Liu. They would say, if it is unchanged, why learn about it? Remember, Huineng, our 6th patriarch, said in the Platform Sutra, if not knowing the original heart, unchanged, Dharma learning has no benefit. In other words, the focus should be on knowing the original heart and not just on secular matters that are like a dream. This photo here is grand predecessor's calligraphy at my home temple. The lines are associated to perform one's best, delightfully and willingly to accept, uphold our true nature that is neither to be born nor dies. Therefore, we are worry-free. We can be vexation-free because we learned that our true nature manifests all Dharma, said our 6th patriarch, Huineng. What I have to say next will be mentioned later with grand predecessor, but since we mentioned it now, we might as well to say it now. This Dharma, or the word Dharma, is that common people get confused the most. Since it is the manifestation from our true nature, it's a given function. It is like the reflection of the moon. Therefore, it is an illusion. Buddha said that we are delusional and didn't know all things, matters, circumstances that we are encountering in life and death are due to conditions or impermanence. We cling on to whatever that appear to us is happy and sad, fortunate and unfortunate, good and bad, gain or lose, less and more, won or lost. The duality of the secular world. As one can see, vexation or displeasure is caused by the clinging on conditioned heart, or in other words, attachments. However, from the illusion, we realize it is the manifestation of the original heart that is the unchanged. The unchanged is the real one, the only one, or some translations as serene nature, thusness, the essence of self-nature that we all shared. This is a process of self-realization while learning about Buddha's absolute teaching from the sutras, and anyone is capable to do this. The point is, once we know it is an illusion, we learn to let go. Let the unreal go. It does make sense if you think about it, because they are not the real us. Caution, let go is not to not do anything. It means we know it is there. We accept its existence. We don't dwell on it. We face it. We don't dwell on it. We deal with it. Again, we don't dwell on it. This may seem like 3 stages, but 3 is 1. All happens at the very moment. Take on hardships. Grand predecessors' teaching also included take on hardships. The author thought, how do we look for a hardship? Especially life itself is already hard. She later realized he meant take on responsibilities that can make you grow. The training was not to be afraid of facing difficulties and not to dwell on matters. Learn from mistakes, but also realized that all matters and circumstances are subject to conditions. What matters is to notice all emotions and circumstances are temporary. Each comes and goes like the reflection in a mirror. There is a saying, respond when circumstances arise, and let go when circumstances subside. How we are to respond to matters is a practice to open our heart mind. They are obstacles and not obstacles. We learn to uphold the true principle. The true principle is our true nature. A well-known Zen master, Dazhu Huihai, who was a Dharma inheritor of Ma Zu Daoyi in the 7th century, who was a disciple of Huai Lang, Zen master, whose master was Huinen, our 6th patriarch. So they are 3 generations down from the 6th patriarch. Like many Zen masters in the old days, and wanted to seek for Buddha's Dharma. When he went to Zen master Ma Zu Daoyi, who scolded him and said, I have nothing here for you to seek for Buddha's Dharma. Why not pay attention to your own jewel or treasure? Why left home? Your own jewel treasure caught his attention. He asked, where is my own jewel? Ma Zu Daoyi said, the one who just asked me. He paused for a few seconds. Suddenly, kneeled on the floor, cried joyfully, and bowed to the Zen master Ma Zu Daoyi. Zen Master Dazu Huihai then decided to serve Zen Master Ma Zudayi for 6 years before returned to home. In the past, usually disciples of Zen would stay with their master for a few years to uphold their self-realization. Most of the time, our habits carried in many lifetimes in the secular life are more dominant than our self-nature. These habits can easily cover up our money or jewel. Zen Master Dazhu Huihai's surname was Zhu. Dazhu was given by his master Ma Zu Daoyi. In describing, he revealed his own jewel, Zhu. Years later, Master Yu Yuan said, and his students went to see Zen Master Dazhu Huihai and asked how he cultivates. He responded, "Hungry is to eat, sleep is to rest." Then Master Yu Yuan said, "All of us is like that." Zen Master Dazhu said, "Not the same. Common people eat with hundreds of worries and thousands of thoughts. Common people sleep with thousands of thoughts and hundreds of worries." Find one sutra. Grand predecessor said that even though it is important to be educated under the Confucius, we still need to learn all other sutras, especially Dazhang Jing, or collections of Buddhist scriptures, Buddhist canon, verses from the enlightened masters. He said there are more than 100 volumes or 80,000 wooden blocks engraved. Others, like Lankavatara Sutra, was condensed to one Diamond Sutra by the fourth patriarch. One Diamond Sutra condensed to one Heart Sutra. Once we find the right way for our cultivation, we keep on going. He continued and said that many people do not know what is Fa. This character over here, pronounced Fa. If you would be seeing it from the secular world point of view, the word means method or dharma, direct translation. Once you learned the true dharma from the Buddhist teaching, it is the manifestation from the true heart that is an illusion. Acknowledged its existence, but realize it's the true emptiness that manifests. Master Yongzhang Xuanjue in the Tang Dynasty, who died at his age of 49, wrote a song of enlightenment. He was one of the 5 or 6 well-known disciples of Huineng, known as the one-night awakening or overnight awakening. It's mentioned in the Platform Sutra by our 6th patriarch Huineng. Master Yongzha said, "Heart is the source. Dharma is dust.
This subject and object are like trees on the mirror. Wipe away, let go, the trace, illusion, and the mirror shine brightly. Uncover the bright original self nature. Heart and Dharma vanish when the self nature is understood. This is something we will need to do. The Heart Sutra. Grand predecessor asked about if we know the meaning of the beginning line. The beginning line, 观自在, 观自在, in the Heart Sutra. It does not just mean it's Guanyin Bodhisattva. Although it was a conversation between Guanyin Bodhisattva and Sariputra, Guanzizai points out that our true nature is originally emancipated or liberated or perturbed. In the Heart Sutra, 释利子 does not just mean 释利佛 or Sariputra. One meaning is when look inwards, we all have a money that is formless, yet manifests all Dharma. The manifestation is visible, but is an illusion. Therefore, the conditioned object is empty. Emptiness is the conditioned object. The second 舍利子 is describing our true nature that is empty, or sunyata, or sunya, non-birth and non-vanishing, non-defiled nor purified, none more and none less. If one realizes that our true heart manifests the 5 skandhas that are deceptive, they can transcend the 3 realms if not dwell on them. Occasional quiz. Grand predecessor asked Tao members, what is that something in the Heart Sutra and the Great Learning means the same thing, even the use of words is not the same? He said with a smile, because nobody knows. He said, it's the first line of the Heart Sutra, 观自在菩萨 and 故是天之明命. One contemplates or one their bright, perfect self-nature or Buddha nature. How do you guys study anyway? Learning one type is not enough. When learning multiple sources, be sure to know the true meanings. Being given orders for 20 years. One day, Grand predecessor said he has been asked to do things for over 20 years. 20 years. Everyone was surprised, puzzled, and have no idea what he meant. Everyone thought, who dared to ask Grand predecessor to do anything? He explained that he was always put in the position of being given orders to eat his meals each time. They said to him, Please have dinner now. Grand predecessor said that is to command him to eat his meal, because one used the word please. They asked him how they could have said instead. How could they have? How else that they can have? How can they say it better? It should be asked. The rice is ready. Are you ready to eat? Now, the decision is up to the person as to when he wants to eat. It was because it was not a question, but a statement. Therefore, after that teaching, everyone had corrected their speech. Too bright to fall asleep. Another experience with his teaching was about watching the television. One day, the author and other young talents wanted to watch a videotape of Zhuge Liang, a main hero of the fictional romance of the Three Kingdoms, where he was portrayed as a sage and military genius. At the time, there was only one television and a video player. And it was in an old room that grand predecessor used to stay. However, grand predecessor already moved to another new location that was about one hallway away. Nighttime. 3 of them got together and turned on the TV and volumed to 0. Thought this way, no one would know. A few minutes later, they heard sound came from outside. When they turned around, it was grand predecessor. They all felt so scared, as if they lost their souls. They tried so hard to look for a place to hide. They were so afraid that he would recognize them. However, not a word came out from him. The girls thought maybe he was too angry and tried to hold on to his anger. The author took a peek at him. Then he started to speak. He seems to be talking to himself and said, "Such bright light made me unable to fall asleep." Then left the room. Although it was like he was sleepwalking at the time, they felt stupid and quickly went back to sleep. Next morning, nothing happened. But the girls were hiding around and didn't want to be seen in front of him. Such hiding around made them tired and frustrated. They hoped to hear him say something. Later, they found out it was his wisdom as he was forgiving them, but at the same time was a warning to teach them not to do it again. He knew that after all, it was their own self-conscience that they cannot bear with. Facing situations. Grand predecessor often must face all kinds of situations between Tao members. One time, a group of people wanted to complain to him about something. All he did was asking the person to repeat what he said. Not once, but more than twice. Each time, he will ask the complainer to repeat his complaints louder. At the end, the complainer got tired. The person gave up, then told grand predecessor that everything was fine. He taught them not to speak about other people behind their back. If one does, it will only mean that they were the one who was causing the problems. He said to Dawkins, "You said the transmitter is no good, that parents are no good, then you must be better. So it shows that you are the best." He said to the transmitter, "Dawkins learned from you. You now complained about their faults. Let's talk about if you are any better." He wanted everyone to self-introspect or reflect on one's own thoughts and actions. He said that it didn't matter who is right and who is wrong. We should not abide either side. The source of the problem begins with our own self. Remember, we mentioned about the cling on conditioned heart, knowing that is not the real self. Okay, so there is something I read last minute that was quite touching, and I thought to share with you. Grand predecessor's love was not limited to Dawkins only. One day he read the Mandarin daily newspaper and saw a news report about a young elementary boy named Zhu Xiaolong, okay, in Puli. It said that his father passed away and left him with his mother, who was mentally challenged and lived in a small thatched hut. Okay, you know, like a roof covering of straw, right, reeds upon leaves. The front yard, he planted potato leaves to keep up with his family expenses, to take care of his mother and himself, and some, school expenses. He went to school that he went to help washing dishes in the kitchen while his mom naps. Grand predecessor thought to visit the young boy and brought some money to the young boy. He said to him, "Study hard, and in the future, you will do things for the country and mankind. If any difficulties, give Grandpa a call, and I will come to help you." According to transmitted Cho, grand predecessor often asked to go down to the Fusan mountain to see if there's anyone in need of help, or if the newspapers published family accidents, car accidents, illness, or poverty and needed a financial relief. Not that he has lots of money, but he was extremely frugal to himself. Torn down socks can be fixed over and over to keep on wearing. When he was on his way to the airport to US, his shoe came off from his foot by accident, and others saw it by accident. He was stubborn about to keep his fixed socks until someone told him it was probably not a good idea if others see them. Then, he contemplated a little bit before took the advice to replace his socks with a new pair. Nevertheless, his love was not limited to Tao King. It is like an example of the four immeasurable minds: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic, and equanimity. A few years before leaving the secular world, grand predecessor said, "You all say that I cherish the blessings. Then I will leave all the blessings to you all." He called attention to all. To be able to continue the existing blessings is by continue to do more of it. What grand predecessor said reminded me of when Buddha went on alms each day with his bare foot to create the opportunity of blessings for the people. Shibuti, a disciple of Buddha, who was known the foremost in understanding emptiness, he prioritized collecting alms from the wealthy. In contrast, Mahakasyapa, who prioritized collecting alms from the poor. His reasoning that poor people needed the merits from alms giving the most, while Shibuti explained that collecting alms from the poor people increased their hardship. Therefore, he collected alms from rich households who would not be burdened by such giving. Buddha later rebuked or scolded, both of these practices, telling them that collecting alms should be done without discrimination. After all, we learned that our true nature is tranquil, or in Buddhism term, purified of defiling illusion. The true emptiness manifests truthfully because that is its virtuous function. There was another situation described by others while the grand predecessor was alive. One day, 3 elderly women paid a visit to the grand predecessor at Busan. They brought takeouts like simple noodle soup to share with the grand predecessor. However, they didn't know temple vegetarian diet was different from normal vegetarian diet. The soup had scallions. Other Tao kings saw and got nervous and didn't know what to do. Grand predecessor seemed to be calm and as kind and friendly as usual when welcoming people. The Tao kings were worried about breaking the vegetarian vows, while grand predecessor ate the noodle soup with the 3 elderly women. He said, "We don't want to waste food and must be appreciative and be thankful." To calm them down, he said, after all, they were just vegetable. Once again, grand predecessor is like the Buddha. Practitioners at Buddha's time, they can't waste food. They need to eat what were given to them from any households. Even if they were given meat in their bowl, Buddha told them to use the water from the river to wash off the smell or taste of the meat before eating it. This is part of his teachings on not abiding in any notion. Accept what is given, but not dwell on it. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. So Tao ceremony. Grand predecessor sometimes talked about the time about Tao ceremony when he was with the 18th patriarch. First, he asked, who holds the highest position? Then he said it was the temple master. Why? Because once the request was made, would you not listen? If they needed a lecture, would you not go with them? So everyone listened to the temple master. People often like to go to the Tao ceremony when there is the grand predecessor, because almost every time there were at least 500 people receiving Tao. One trip took at least 1 month. It made everyone very happy. He congratulated the new members, then asked them, grand predecessor then asked them if their parents received Tao. If the new members said no, he told them, think about this. You go to the permanent heaven, and your parents are not. They will end up going to the underworld. How could you see your parents in the underworld and you are in the heaven on your own? After he reminded the new members, they felt bad. He then said, let's go and get your parents to receive Tao. It turned out that not only the parents, but uncles and aunts and friends were all received Tao. He said, if they don't want to, you kneel to ask them. At the time, they carried the 3 lamps everywhere he went. He even told the introducers, if one of them became the Buddha, you will be the captain of the Buddha. Conclusion. Grand predecessors' deeds were exemplary to find ways in our daily living to learn about our true nature or the principle. We learn wholeheartedly and to realize that we have a true nature, that we understood the impermanent, practice adapting and accepting to all conditions when negative and positive experiences in life. To realize Dharma learning begins with our original heart. We respond when circumstances arise and let go when circumstances subside. We perform one's best in one's role, okay, delightfully and willingly to accept. Uphold the faith that we have a true nature that is neither to be born nor dies. Therefore, we are to worry-free because we learn that all phenomena is delusional and worries are caused by the cling-on conditioned heart. However, affliction is bodhi, said Huinan. Our money or jewel is covered up by habits of inverted views. Zen Master Dazu Huihai said, cultivation is hungry is to eat, sleep is to rest. The Heart Sutra said, to transcend the 3 realms is when one realized that our true heart manifests the 5 skandhas that are illusory. Do not dwell on them. According to the author, grand predecessor taught one way not to dwell on thoughts is the physical training. Similar idea from the Milarepa, who emphasized the temporary nature of the physical body and the need for recognizing non-attachments. From grand predecessor's life highlights, he diligently propagating Tao for more than 50 years. His virtuous deeds fulfilled his lifelong commitment to bring awareness about the universal truth and the value of life. He devoted himself to glorify the essence of self-nature and Confucianism. While in the secular world, he constantly advised the restoration of ethics, helped to put an end to wrongdoings, and maintained social stability. For his distinguished contribution to the society, he was awarded by the government the Glory of Chinese Top Honor Medal. With such recognition, he was still humble. He said, "Today, I accepted the award on my behalf, but this award is not mine, but it is earned by the 17th patriarch and 17th matriarch, and everyone who have contributed to the society. All the Qigong living Buddha's disciples must work hard." Someone praised the grand predecessor about the nursery home and senior center. He also said he was only fulfilling a small wish from the 17th patriarch and matriarch because they had such a plan while at the mainland China. But due to environmental restrictions, it was not completed. Throughout his life, he endured sufferings and hardships without complaints. He enlightened the people without fatigue, and he stood by to his great vows without cease. His influence is widespread and far-reaching. Grand predecessor's departure at age of 95 left countless Tao cultivators crying with the remembrances of deep reverence and great gratitude. Some parts of this presentation may be new to some people, but hopefully later we will have classes about true nature, Mani or Jewel, Sunyata, and many other names like Maha, that is originally nothing, yet a true emptiness that manifests all Dharma. Lastly, I would like to dedicate the merits and virtues of the various secular things that we have cultivated and the true principle that we have realized to all sentient beings. If I have said anything incorrectly, I add saints, the Buddha, grand predecessor, Zen masters mentioned for forgiveness, and everyone here for correction. Thank you.